You're looking at a very busy race crew. The Bahari Pennzoil Racing Team had a bizarre weekend here at the Michigan International Speedway. This is the third car that they're working on. For more on that and highlights of the Miller Genuine Draft 400, here's Randy.
Ned, the scenario for the Pennzoil Pontiac team started on Friday when their driver, Michael Waltrip, lost control of their main car up in turn 4, destroying the automobile. Michael was taken to the hospital with various cuts and bruises, but he was determined to be okay, came back to the racetrack on Sunday. The problems continued on Saturday when they decided to put Ben Hess in the automobile for second round of qualifying. That was the second car. Ben Hess destroyed that car as well. They could not get it fixed, so they had to go back to Mooresville, North Carolina, send up a third car for the Miller Genuine Draft 400. Now, the team returned to the racetrack at 4 o'clock in the morning to repair this car that's standing behind me. They got the car ready. They were the last car through inspection to get ready for the Miller Genuine Draft 400. But the Pennzoil Pontiac team wasn't the only team to have trouble last weekend. The number 9 car of Chad Little, he destroyed that car when he broke a wheel in first round of qualifying. Also, Dick Trickle in the Snickers Ford, he never even made it to first round of qualifying when he tore up his automobile in practice. Now, during qualifying, it was Davey Allison setting a brand new track record here at Michigan. On the outside of the front row was another Ford, Mark Martin. The first 4 cars were all Fords as they headed off for the green flag in the Miller Genuine Draft 400. From his pole position, Davey Allison led the field of 41 starters to the green flag for 400 miles of what would end up being a flat-out rout by the Haviland Ford driver. Allison, who was looking for his 4th win of 1992, lost the lead to fellow Ford driver Alan Kowicki, but took it back on lap 2 after Ernie Irvin crashed hard coming off of turn 2. After the yellow flag, it was green flag action for the next 73 circuits. Kowicki managed to hold off the charge of Mark Martin, Davey Allison, Rusty Wallace for about 20 laps. That is until Martin put his Ford at the point. But on lap 33, Davey ducked past and took the top spot once again, a spot he would hold for 158 of the event's 200 circuits. After green flag pit stops were completed by lap 50, Allison, who took on only 2 tires, was burning up the track and didn't give up the lead until Dave Marcus spun in turn 4 on lap 80. That's where the injured Michael Waltrip got out of the car and was replaced by ARCA star Ben Hess. The race would run with only 2 more yellow flags, and by halfway, Allison and his so-called competition was dwindling, as Terry Labonte, Rusty Wallace, and Hut Strickland had all retired with blown engines. And Dale Earnhardt and Bill Elliott were both 1 lap down. For the final 75 laps, the race continued to be from second on back, with Waltrip up against Alan Kowicki for the second spot, and Mark Martin, Kyle Petty, Ricky Rudd, and Harry Gant all battling in the top 5. That is until Gant crashed coming off of turn 2 to bring out the final yellow flag on lap 154. The question was, could the 7 cars remaining on the lead lap go the final 45 circuits without refueling? While Allison was clearly headed for win number 4, Waltrip and Kowicki went at it for the second spot again, while Petty, Rudd, and an emerging Ted Musgrave battled for 4th, 5th, and 6th. Ted, unfortunately, would have to stop and grab gas in the final laps. He would have to finish in the 8th position. Kyle Petty would finish 4th, Rudd would finish 5th, Davey Allison would pick up the win from the pole position, picking up an extra $60,800 from Unocal.
Well, the Texaco Haviland Thunderbird was awful tough, Randy. You know, Larry McReynolds, Robert Yates, and all the guys on the crew have just done an outstanding job getting ourselves back to this point, because after we crashed at Bristol and crashed at Martinsville and then we crashed in the Winston, we took out our 3 best cars, and we've been scrambling trying to get back to where we were competitive again. And we ran good at a couple of the races, but we just didn't run the way we were accustomed to running. And today it feels good to win and win the way we did, because it was starting to look like we weren't going to get any more.
Well,
Well, it's been 6 long, hard weekends for the NASCAR Winston Cup drivers and teams without a break, but they do have a break before they head to Daytona for the Pepsi 400 on July the 4th. Now, there were some of the teams that took a little detour from Michigan. They went by the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for a special test, and we'll have highlights of that after we take this break. And as we leave you for this break, here's the balance of the finishing order for the Miller Genuine Draft 400.
Demonstrate the incredibly realistic color of Kodak Gold Plus film. Just open the box. No other print film captures a wider spectrum of colors at any speed. Kodak Gold Plus film. True colors. More colors.
You'd think the world would be nothing but a blur at this speed. But at 200 miles an hour, a lot of things become clear. Like what technology can help make our cars perform better, our trucks tougher, and help make them all safer for the street. Because at Ford, we want to stay ahead in more places than just the racetrack. Have you driven a Ford lately?
If you don't like the looks of your car, shoot it with Son of a Gun from STP. Shoot the dash, seats, tires, and roof. Son of a Gun protected. Man, what a difference.
Racing. I can't explain it. You're kind of in a limbo zone. Time's different. Speed's different. Everything works different. It sounds totally cosmic. It's out there somewhere.
Kyle Petty and Mellow Yellow. There's nothing mellow about him.
Oh, the sun's gonna shine in my life once more. Love's gonna lift here again.
Buck Owens, a farewell concert. Monday on TNN. Today, live on TNN Motorsports. In a day marred with delays and unexpected upsets, Nels Corners provided its share of surprises. While racing for position became a nose-to-nose encounter, former ASA champs Mike Eddy and moneyman Bob Seneca couldn't slow a driven Gary St. Amant. In Ontario, the racing was wet and wild. How will Kansas City fare? It's the 25th anniversary of the ASA AC Delco Challenge Series. Western Auto 300 today, 3 p.m. Eastern, live on TNN Motorsports.
Stock cars at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, what's going on? Nothing but the Indy cars have run on that famous 2.5-mile track since they opened back in 1911. Oh yeah, there was a Pontiac endurance test there back in the early 60s, but no indications that NASCAR would ever go there to race. Are they going there now? Well, nothing is being said official, but they did run a pretty hefty test there this past week, and our guys were there to capture that.
Gasoline Alley at the famed Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where 9 of NASCAR Winston Cup's most elite drivers showed up for what NASCAR claims as an unofficial Goodyear tire test. But even before the teams arrived here, there was great anticipation about running at the famed Brickyard.
I'm going over there for 2 days, not really to worry about how fast I go or anything like that. I want to make a media day out of it or two and have a good time and run the racetrack. And at least when I'm older and I can sit by the fireplace and tell my kids and my grandkids that, yeah, I drove Indy a couple of times. I know what it's like.
You know, I'm excited about going, and it's a terrific opportunity for all of the drivers, teams, owners, and sponsors, as well as race fans.
It's history. You know, I look at it as being Winston Cup history, going there for the first time. But still, I think in a lot of areas, I'm a purist and on different things, you know, and I don't think any cars should come to Daytona, and I don't think that we should go to Indy to race. You know, testing is one thing, but going to race is something totally different. It's like I said before, you don't play polo or or croquet or anything like that at Augusta, and you don't race dogs at Churchill Downs. So, those places are horse tracks and golf courses with a lot of tradition, just like Indy is for Indy cars.
But it was obvious that from the time the teams hit the garage area, the fans were frantic with Winston Cup fever. With the engine still silent, there was a roar of acceptance as drivers delivered the personal touch that has helped to take this sport to a national prominence, and now delivered it to the world's most famous speedway. The first step on Monday was a brief driver crew chief meeting prior to getting their feet wet. And while the entire 2 days were dominated by national media, Kyle Petty was doing a little documenting of his own. At 11 a.m. Monday, June 22nd, 1992, the anticipation of testing Winston Cup cars at Indy became a reality. As the drivers quickly familiarized themselves with the famed 2.5-mile facility, it became clear that the Winston Cup cars could run at Indy. And by and large, a Winston Cup race will run at Indy, but when?
This question is fundamentally premature.
But the same question kept on coming.
We're getting back again to that fundamentally premature side of this press conference. No, I understand.
So for now, everyone had to be happy with just hitting the track, and they were.
Oh yeah, I'm just having a great time. I mean, I pulled out. I had the honor of putting my car on, about being the very first car on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for a stock car. When I fired that thing up and pulled out going into turn one, there's 50-some thousand people, I guess that's what they say is here, and they were just hooting and hollering all over the place and just going crazy, and it really sent chills down you. And then we went out and we started doing some drafting practice, and 3 and 4s were running, and I passed the car 3 wide going down the front straightaway. I mean, they just freaked out. So, I mean, they're loving it. They're starved for competition up here. The Indy 500 is a neat deal, but they only get it once a year, and they want more than that.
For 2 straight days, teams took advantage of the Goodyear tire test, changing springs, shocks, and plenty of tires, and just plain having a good old time.
Big tire here at Indy, aren't they? Right reader's going down.
For the fans, it was a time to tour the grounds, looking back at the history and being a part of it at the same time. In fact, everyone on the grounds was a fan in some respect.
We'll zoom now. I'm zooming. Wait a minute. I'm zooming. Hey, give me that thumbs up. Good one.
All right, what do y'all think about NASCAR coming to Indy? After a surprise spin around the Brickyard by A.J. Foyt in Earnhardt's car, at 1:30 on Tuesday, everyone got what they wanted as the 9 drivers ran a controlled 15-lap sprint. And when it was all over, everyone was a winner.
Track's got a lot of potential. It really does. It surprised me the cars work as good as they do here on this flat racetrack.
Just the whole atmosphere of this whole program has been incredible. It's been an experience that I'll never forget.
And when the trucks rolled out, one could only wonder, will they be back for the first ever Winston Cup race at Indy?
Well, as we said, nothing has been said official about NASCAR going there to race, but speculation is running high, and you can rest assured when the story breaks, we'll have it right here on Inside Winston Cup Racing. We need to take a short break. When we come back, we'll have highlights of the Carolina Pride Budweiser 250 from the Myrtle Beach Speedway in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And as we leave you for this break, here's this week's Haviland Track Talk.
This edition of Track Talk is brought to you by Haviland. Add more life to your car.
In the high-speed world of racing, one of the most valuable elements is the brakes. Now, in addition to making sure the brakes operate properly, crews carefully design brake ducts or vents to try and cool the brakes during a race. The cooling setup is determined by the type of track and length of a vent.
Yeah, a little bit. Like different tracks, sometimes you really don't need that much ducking to the brakes. You can just run probably just a hose and let it blow in there toward the caliper. When you go to places where you really need brakes, it's good to have them ducts on there because it encloses the spindle and the rotor, and it forces the air through the rotors, and it keeps them really cool.
Well, when we were looking at you working on the car out at Sears Point, you had to keep turning the wheel, make sure you have clearance. So you have to really be detailed to make sure you got everything right, don't you?
Yeah, if you got them too short, when he starts turning the wheels, it's just going to rip the hose off. If you got them too long, it's allowed to get all in the wheel. So you just try to make them about the right length.
Teams use a hose 3 inches in circumference to direct air to the critical area. And each week during practice, Danny tests the brake temperatures.
Yeah, usually when we get to a racetrack, I'll put a heat paint on them. And when Ricky's running and he's applying the brakes, the heat paint will turn different colors, and that'll let you know how hot the rotors are getting. And then usually you can judge off there how much cooling you need for your brakes.
It is from Kodak. It delivers the highest resolution, microfine grain, superior image structure, for ultra-sharp detail. It is called Ektar. Ektar Film by Kodak. The genius is in the details. Ektar Film now comes in a new cartonless package in 25, 100, and 1,000 speeds.
Last year, Michael Andretti added something new to his car. It wasn't more engine displacement or bigger wings. It was the same Haviland Formula 3 motor oil you can buy straight off the shelf to add more life to your car with complete protection against heat stress, starting friction, and engine turn. Now, we're not saying it was Haviland Formula 3 that gave Michael the energy to sweep the IndyCar Championship last year, but we're not saying it wasn't.
This is Miller time.
It's a duck. It's a tray. Yes, ladies,
This is not.
buy it. If you buy 5 of them, you get 1 free.
Miller time.
Here we are in Arkansas. Here we are
Not
in Nebraska.
Miller time.
Here we are in Florida.
It's a simple idea. Miller time. Not. Make your 4th of July Miller time with this official USA Team Volleyball. Look for it where you buy Miller beer. Everyone knows when it's Miller time.
If you don't like the looks of your car, shoot it with son of a gun from STP. Shoot the dash, seats, tires, and roof. Son of a gun protecting. Man, what a difference.
Yeah, let's see your crash helmet.
It's ready. I'm ready to go. Wait a minute.
All right, let's ski.
Exile gets a crash course on the slopes. Celebrity Outdoors, Sunday at noon Eastern on TNN. Gary Morris.
Never had sunlight on your face.
Glenn Campbell. Vince Gill. They're all back for the 1992 Crosby Clam Bake Friday night.
Next week, we'll take you on a tour with Jack Roush. While his involvement in racing may be his trademark, his involvement in the automobile industry simply boggles the mind.
And in some cases, we'll come back and do sound work on the transmission case in order to try to make that quieter.
Wally Dallenbach Jr. is a proven road course winner. Now he's attacking the tracks in a Winston Cup ride with a new teammate, a familiar owner, and the inspiration of a famous father.
The Busch Grand National Division travels to the winding Watkins Glen Road Course. The BGN Stars light up the lefts and rights, and we'll have the action from the Phase 150 next week.
If you saw our feature on Jimmy Spencer on this program last week, you could see an air of confidence after he was named to drive the Dick Moroso Racing Oldsmobile in the Busch Grand National Series. That was after he had to leave the Winston Cup Series because of lack of sponsorship. Well, it didn't take him too long to get in victory lane. Most people figured it would not. And in the Carolina Pride Budweiser race at Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, he got a little behind, but he caught up in a hurry. Bill Weber has the highlights.
The 29-car field rolled out at Myrtle Beach for 250 laps on the half-mile speedway. Jeff Gordon sat on the pole for the 6th time this season. Chuck Baum, the 5th fastest qualifier, was forced to start at the rear of the pack after missing the drivers' meeting. Once again, Gordon was strong in his Baby Ruth Ford, pulling away from the field. The first caution flag flew on lap 5 for a multi-car wreck in turn 1. Including a late hit by Coach Jerry Glanville long after the play was over. Early problems slowed Jeff Burton and Jimmy Spencer, who could not get his Daly's first aid car out of neutral. The crew jammed the car into fourth, and Spencer returned to the race 3 laps down. Gordon continued his fine run up front, chased by Steve Grissom, Tommy Houston, and a strong group of challengers. The field was red flagged for rain on lap 62. When the race was restarted, Richard Lassiter spun, bringing out the yellow and helping Spencer make up a lap. Grissom got by Gordon to take the lead on lap 92, as the short track showcased lots of tight racing. Joe Nemechek's run was ruined when he got caught in traffic and was booted by Bound. Robert Presley and Bobby Labonte were both a threat throughout the early portions of the race, and both went to make a move around Gordon. And on the same lap, the action continued, as Spencer rubbed with Gordon as the cars moved through turn 2 and down the backstretch. Todd Bodine and Jack Sprague brought out another caution, and Labonte assumed the lead on the restart. But Spencer was still trying to make up laps, wedging his way by the Slim Jim Chevrolet, pulling Ricky Craven into the lead. Moments later, Labonte got tangled in traffic with Tommy Houston and spun on the front stretch. Meanwhile, Chuck Bound was working his way through the crowded field, clearing a path to the front. Bobby Dotter had another strong run, taking the lead on lap 149. But Spencer got around Dotter and was back on the lead lap, then benefited from another caution when Miller and Grissom wrecked. Bound completed his charge from last to first on lap 177. Wallace and Labonte battled for second, but it was Spencer charging past the pair and into second place. Then on lap 201, Spencer went by Bound to take the lead. Dotter wrecked on lap 223, setting up a wild dash to the yellow, with Bound getting home first. Spencer returned to the lead on lap 215. Bound's chance for his first win of the year was erased when he spun in turn 2. Spencer held off Labonte in the closing laps to win by half a car length.
You know, the Daly's first aid car, we felt we had a car that could win the race, and shifter broke. We lost 3 laps. I can't believe we made them all up. The guys drove like gentlemen. I just thank the Lord that he pulled me through and we won this race.
Today's mailbox is brought to you by Miller Genuine Draft.
Our question this week is from Larry Medema from Muskegon, Michigan, who writes, what is the trailing arm and what does it do? Well, Larry, for that answer, we'll go to Eddie Dickerson, who's the crew chief on the Miller Genuine Draft Pontiacs that Rusty Wallace drives.
That's a good question, Larry. Thanks for writing in. As you can see on our spare car, the trailing arm is attached to the chassis with a 3/4 bolt. It's off a 65 Chevrolet truck. It runs back and supports the whole rear end housing. It's part of our rear suspension. It's attached to the rear end housing with a U-bolt right here, and the spring rides on the top of it.
If you have any race questions, write to us at Inside Winston Cup Racing, Box 240417, Charlotte 28224. If we use your question on the air, you'll receive this embroidered Miller Genuine Draft jacket free. You'll also receive a free copy of NASCAR videos, A Week in the Life of a Race Team, the latest volume in the exciting series, bringing the NASCAR lifestyle roaring into your living room.
Well, our time's up for today. Hope you enjoyed the show, and you be sure to be with us here next week when we'll come to you from Liberty, North Carolina. No, there's not a racetrack there, but one of the top teams has their racing shops there. See you then on TNN.
Inside Winston Cup Racing has been brought to you by cold-filtered Miller Genuine Draft and Miller Genuine Draft Light, taking the country by storm. Haviland Formula 3 Motor Oil. Add more life to your car. And by the First Brand Corporation, makers of STP Son of a Gun Protector. Transportation for the Inside Winston Cup Racing crew provided by Fleetwood Enterprises, makers of a full line of excellent recreational vehicles. Promotional consideration and a fee paid for by the Champions Press, creators of the finest collectibles in the history of Winston Cup. And by NASCAR Video, taking you behind the scenes to meet the top drivers and personalities in the sport. Get your first volume featuring a week in the life of a race team. Order today.
Race Day, next on TNN. This is TNN, the Nashville Network, the #1 source for country music, entertainment, and information.
This is Miller time.
It's a duck. It's a tray. Yes, ladies.
This is not.
Buy it. If you buy 5 of them, you get 1 free.
Miller time.
Here we are in Arkansas. Here we are
Not
in Nebraska.
Miller time.
Here we are in Florida.
It's a simple idea. Miller time. Not. Make your 4th of July Miller time with this official USA Team volleyball. Look for it where you buy Miller beer. Everyone knows when it's Miller time.
Answer the call of the new Batman stunt show at Six Flags Great Adventure with explosive action, electrifying stunts, and all those wonderful toys. There's even the incredible Batmobile. All the greatest stunts Hollywood has to offer. And it's all right here at a theme park that's bigger than Disneyland and a whole lot closer. Six Flags Great Adventure and the new Batman stunt show